Hello, insiders! We have a very special guest. We have Jasmine from the YouTube analytics team. Welcome, Jasmine, to the show.
Thank you. Hi, Tom.
Very exciting. You've been very busy.
Yeah. We've been busy. I've brought a whole list.
Whoa! And you are a software engineer. And how long have you've been working on the product for a few years now, right?
I'm working as a software engineer on YTA for 3 years. This is my 4th year now.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow! The product has come a long way, hasn't it?
It has changed a lot since 3 years. Yeah, it has.
So why don't you give us a little summary of like some of the stuff that has been changed in the product in the past?
Right. Yeah. We've been hearing a lot of feedback from all our creators. So we really read all of it. Please keep it coming. I have a whole list of things I can go through, but
it's been a busy time.
Yeah, maybe I just mentioned some of the highlights. I hope most of you know the deep dive. So we have in analytics the overview, which is the first page that you see when you land in analytics. It should give you, the most important stats about your performance. But I think a lot of our users are really advanced and they know really well what they're looking for. So that's what the deep dive is there for. And one of the features we offer in Deep Dive is the comparison mode. So we have a bunch of things to make it easier to compare your content. First off, metric comparison. Previously, you could only see one metric: how are my views performing, or how is my revenue performing. But what if you want to see the correlation? Like, did one metric drive another one? So really common comparisons might be your views versus your comments. Another thing may be views versus revenue.
Is duration in there? Could you do views and duration?
You can choose any of the metrics that we offer. How many we have? A couple of, like 20, 30
dozens.
Metrics? Dozens, right.
Yeah.
You can choose any of them. So go ahead,
Yeah, and so for those of you who aren't familiar, the deep dive is basically when you're in YouTube Analytics and you click the see more things on the cards, it often will open that deep dive experience, and it has like all these columns, and it can be intimidating if you haven't used it before, but there are people who like live in that experience, and they really go into the nitty-gritty. So I think one of the things we heard back in the days when YouTube Studio was a beta was like, hey, we want better comparisons, more metrics. So Jasmine did it.
Yeah,
and
well,
team.
Not only me, Jasmine team, exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, that's one of the comparisons. Also, more things that you've been asking for is quicker comparison to get easier into the comparison mode. So if you want to compare your content, how was it doing this month versus the previous month? We call that period over period, but also year over year if you have seasonal content. And related to that, you can also see now the ranking, what happened last period versus this period. Where's your audience coming from, for example? Are your top 3 countries still the US, Japan, and Germany, or are these 3 other countries now? So this is what we call side by side, and this is also available now in the comparison.
Wow.
So yeah,
powerful.
Big features. Another thing also related to comparisons is the normalized deep dive. So normalized data has been really attractive, I think, on the overview already.
Yes.
We offer the same thing still in the deep dive, but we give you even more. So maybe the typical performance doesn't really make sense for your video because maybe you have different types of videos and it's hard to say what is a typical performance.
Right.
In that case, you might want to compare this video to a specific other one that you know is better for comparison.
Got it. So right now in Snappy, there's this built-in normalization, which is, to your earlier point, making sure you're comparing videos with the same amount of time since upload.
Right.
With this improved normalized comparison in the deep dive, rather than us just saying, oh, we've taken your last 10 uploads, like for Creator Insider, we may not want to compare a news flash to like a myth-busting thing with Todd about search and discovery, because we know like that's not a fair comparison. They're different types of content. So in this case, I could pick all of the news flashes and compare one news flash to all of my other news flashes for the same amount of time since upload, and then I'll be able to find out what has been the best news flash and do more stuff like that.
Right, currently we allow one video versus another video, but hopefully in the future we'll also be...
Okay.
So what you're talking about is creating groups,
yes.
right, for different sets of content. And that's actually also something, because we think this is really useful, we've been improving that a little bit. So previously you would just select one single video each time you want to add it to a group. So you search a video and add it to the group, search a video and add it to the group. And we heard that that takes really long to do.
Yes.
So one thing we've added is, we call it bulk creation. So you can give us a list of IDs and just paste them in of your videos and we'll add them all. So you can create groups up to 200 right now, and you just give us 200 IDs and we'll add them all.
Maybe someday you can just auto-create the group for me.
Yeah, I think that would be
sweet.
What kind of group would you want to have?
I mean, I would love it if you're like, hey, we think all of these things that say newsflash are probably in a group, so we're not even going to make you copy and paste all the things. Right. Or, hey, we've created a group called long Creator Insider videos, or short Creator Insider videos, or maybe using intelligence into the video. Here's a group where multiple people are in it versus the solo presenters. Like, there's all kind of like how Google Photos has all these weird suggestions. Someday. Well, if you guys think it would be useful, I mean, that's an interesting question about Deep Dive, in that I think some people love it and want like maximum power, and then other people don't use it that much. Right. And there's always this debate about like, do we give more power tools, or do we make the stuff that's there a little bit like easier to digest? And perhaps in the long run we should offer, we're trying to offer both, but it's the same team. So that's always an interesting quandary we're in, and might be cool to get feedback from the audience about that. So will you read the comments on this video as well?
If you're nice to me, I will. Well, otherwise I would ignore it. No, just kidding. For sure there will be someone reading the comments.
Yes. And then what about, so now we're in 2020. Are we done? Is YTA, we're
Everything.
good?
The product is perfect now. Yeah.
What are you thinking?
No, just kidding. So a couple of things that we know will come in the near future. Age and gender chart. So we have a chart for age, we have a chart for gender. People want it all at once. So that's one thing we're adding. New filters, so even more possibilities to slice and dice your data, specifically for traffic sources. We will hopefully soon show you the date as a dimension in the deep dive, which means you can have a table, shows your dates with your data, you can copy paste it. All of this would be a little bit not useless, but harder to use if we didn't know where the deep dive is. So we might want to make it way easier to find the deep dive. This is one of our goals.
Is there a way to save like certain deep dive views so that they don't have to like reconstruct it every time? Is that already in there? Or?
We don't have a button or a feature for it right now.
Okay.
However, you can copy paste the URL. The other thing you can do is actually download that data if you want to use it in the future to look at exactly the same data again. Right. So this is a button on the top right. It's called export. You can export your data either to a Google Sheets or a CSV. Cool.
I'll throw one final question in there, which is YouTube analytics on the mobile app. We've done a lot on the desktop experience. The mobile app is getting better, but we could accelerate that. But that doesn't come for free. That means then we can't do as much on desktop. That's another debate we always have in the team. So curious, maybe a lot of people out there feel like, well, mobile app's pretty good. It has all the core metrics. I don't need to do all the fancy stuff on my phone the way I would do on my desktop. Or maybe people want even more on the mobile. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Jasmine.
Thank you for having me.
We'll have you back on very soon. In the meantime, you guys, keep it real.